Jon Huntsman, industrialist, philanthropist, founder of Huntsman Cancer Institute. Thank you so much for being part of Three Questions today.
It's my great honor, Bob. It's nice to be with you again.
You are looking strong. You have been quite candid with your health in the past. You are a cancer survivor. You've got polymyalgia rheumatica, but you're looking really good. How are you feeling?
Well, thank you for asking, Bob. I turned 80 this last week, and
happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I hope my 80s are a little bit stronger than my 70s. I had 24 operations in the last 10 years because the disease that I've had, it affects your joints and your immune systems, and it's been very difficult on me. And you add a lot of water through the steroids that we have to take, and so you kind of go from day to day. And I'm very happy. I'm very upbeat and very positive. And I think the 80s to the 90s will be far different than the 70s to the 80s. That's just kid stuff, 70s to 80s. We're in the real working day now, where I come in every day charged up, ready to roll.
Now you're serious.
I'm serious. We're going to start working now. I'm building a business.
How wonderful. Tell me about, now you're in the middle of a merger.
Right.
And tell me a little bit about that. What is going to be the final outcome of that merger, hopefully?
Well, Huntsman started almost 50 years ago when I just started by myself I left Dow Chemical Company and as a young man. And we produced the first hamburger containers and called Big Mac containers. First plates, bowls, and dishes made of plastic, and cups and things of that kind that we take for granted every day today. And we've gone now into very sophisticated products for aerospace, automobiles, homes, appliances, paint, carpeting, all types of technology. And what this would do with this new joint venture that we would have with this company in Europe is it would make us the second largest producer of specialty chemicals in the world, which is a terrific position to be in, because it means that virtually everything we buy, we wear, we look at, we handle, we wear has some type of a Huntsman product in it. And so if the public knew that, they'd all be after me for something or another. But fortunately, we disguise it by having the final product come out somewhat different than maybe one or two or three of the ingredients of which we produce.
Yeah. Did you have any idea when you started making the clamshell hamburger containers that it was going to blossom into this incredible industry?
Well, I think, Bob, nobody really understands their potential. I love O. Henry's book. One of his books, he talks about the unborn masterpiece. And in the unborn masterpiece, there's a statement in there that each individual has within themselves certain potential, certain abilities, certain capacities, that if utilized and if properly analyzed and put into production, they can do something unusual and different than they ever suspected they could. And I'm just guessing that I'm tapping out on whatever little I might have left. But we've been very blessed in the fact that there have been some unborn masterpieces that I never could have envisioned that would be making fighter aircraft, that would be developing, automobiles and things of that kind today.
It must give you a great sense of satisfaction when you look back.
Well, I've been very fortunate, Bob, in the fact that we've surrounded ourselves with really good people. The key to any successful business is to surround oneself with people stronger than they are, particularly in the areas of weakness. And I've had a number of areas of weakness and have brought in the best and the brightest and give them a lot of credit for helping us along the line. We'll have about 35,000 full-time employees now, and each one brings to the table something that's unique and different, and something obviously that the Huntsman family's probably not very skilled at doing themselves.
I don't know of much that the Huntsman family is not skilled at doing. I mean, you have far more talent than most families have generationally. You've got the Children's Center at the Huntsman Cancer Institute that is a beautiful, beautiful facility. Are you happy with how things are going there?
We really are. The Children's Research Center is will be the largest in the world for children's research. And our concern there is to see that if children have cancer, what does that mean to their siblings? What does that mean to a child in their teenage years? What does it mean to a child who's had cancer when they're a parent or an adult, or to their relatives? Is this something, or are there tumors, or are there predestined type of cells that develop eventually into greater formations of a tumor than normal people would have? All of these are questions that history's never answered yet, because the history of cancer is fairly new. We knew about cancer 4,500 years ago. 2500 BC, the Greeks first discovered there were cancers, but there really hasn't been great research developed until the last 30 or 40 years. And that's why it's so important that Huntsman Cancer Institute, particularly our research components, are growing. They're expanding rapidly. We're bringing in the best researchers in the world. Salt Lake City and Utah will be, in my opinion, the research center of the world with respect to diseases of various kinds. And so we're very, very happy with it. We're very pleased with it. And we're honored to have so many people from around the world join us.
Where do we stand right now? It's been a couple of years since we had kind of an update from you on where we stand with the search for a cure for cancer. How close are we getting in which categories? Do you know?
Yes, Bob, that's really a good question. That's kind of the age-old question that I'm asked wherever we go. First of all, there are about 200 different kinds of cancers that we know about. And of the 200 kind of cancers, you have subcancers of various kinds. For instance, in breast cancers, we'll have 12 different personalized types of protocols that we can give to women now, whereas a few years ago we had BRCA1 and BRCA2, basically two formulations. Now we're able to personalize cancer almost to the point where there are as many protocols, there are as many protocols and solutions as there are people who have the disease. And so in some cancers, like children's leukemia and children's cancer, we're making great progress. We've gone from a 20% fatality rate to a 20% loss of life. In other words, we've reversed 80% of those who have cancer in children will survive now today. And yet we've got other types of cancers we're working on day and night. Pancreatic cancers are very difficult when it's tied into the liver. The liver is difficult to really understand completely. And so that's been a great challenge for us, for other major cancer centers. So different cancers have, on balance, I would say we're increasing at about 1% per year less cancer deaths each year. So we're making progress, we're gaining on it, but there's still so much to be done, and there's still such pain and agony in families, particularly young mothers with children who have cancers, that we still have a long way to go on this one.
It's been several months now since this dust-up between HCI, between Huntsman Cancer Institute and the University of Utah. Are you satisfied with how things have worked out?
Well, any time there's what I'll refer to as a public-private relationship, that is where the private side puts up virtually all of the money, and yet it's managed by the public side, there are always going to be certain types of disagreements and certain types of situations that don't necessarily work out well. Right now, we'll work out an arrangement with the legislature with the powers that be in the state of Utah, to where Huntsman Cancer Institute will continue on for the next 100, 200 years, as long as we have to fight cancer. But where you have a university and you're bringing in a different president every 5 years, and they have different changes that they'd like to make, then you're bringing in different deans of the medical school, and they have changes they want to make. It's impossible to run a major cancer center, particularly if you're a comprehensive cancer care center, like we are, where you have changes that are made every 3 or 4 or 5 years. You have to have a steady course. You have to have a family like ours or guardians like ours, where you're not only putting up a huge amount of money, but you're also keeping it on a straight line and a straight path, and you're not veering off to the right or to the left or experimenting depending on the personality who comes in. So I think, we're making great progress. The legislature's behind us. The state of Utah is behind us. The governor's behind us. The thing that people don't understand is that when you're a comprehensive cancer care center like we are, we're the only one in the entire Intermountain region that gets designated by National Institutes of Health as a comprehensive cancer care center. We're overseen by a board of 10 experts in this field. The head of Harvard's, Dana-Farber's Cancer Center, the head of MD Anderson, the largest in the world, the head of Hughes, Howard Hughes Medical Center. These are all people on our board that oversee what Huntsman does. They have nothing to do with the University of Utah, but they have these very strict requirements and very strict ordinances that we have to follow and pursue in order to become and to remain a comprehensive cancer care center. And so we look to them first. We look secondly to the board of the Huntsman Cancer Foundation that includes the University of Utah. And thirdly, you look at the board of trustees, which are basically individuals from the community who know very little or nothing about cancer. And so they're not of any help at all to us. So this last dust-up that we had was someone coming in and not telling either the first group or the second group what they were doing, but simply sent an email out and did the worst of all unethical events that you can do in business. And that's to try to change management without telling people about it. So we found that to be very disarming and distressful. And we're never going to see that again. Believe me, that'll never happen again on this campus. And it'll never happen again in the state of Utah, because we've put $2.4 billion into cancer now between our grants and our foundations. That's a vast amount of money to put into Salt Lake City, any cancer center in the world. And so we're finding a new president of the university. We're finding somebody in health sciences who has the capacity to reach out, not only in cancer, but in all phases of medical work. And I think as we look 5 and 10 and 20 years downstream, this will turn out to have been a great plus for all of us. We'll know better how to relate to one another. We'll have a true public-private relationship so that both sides, both the public side, which is the university, and the private side, which is the side that puts up all the money, or most of the money, both has a very strong say before major decisions are made.
So are you saying then that the legislature is going to play a major role in this relationship between between Huntsman Cancer Institute and the foundation and the University of Utah? Is that?
Well, I would say that the legislature will play a role if they need to. Huntsman Cancer Institute isn't going to say, well, whatever the trustees tell us to do, we're going to do, because we fall outside of the board of trustees with this national advisory group I was referring to of 10 of the top specialists in the world. And when they heard about what had happened at Utah, it was just unbelievable. They'd never heard of any such thing. And we have to meet their standards first and foremost. And then we have to meet the standards of our Huntsman Cancer Foundation. And so what I'm saying is that whatever we need to do to keep the Huntsman Cancer Institute on a straight line, looking for answers in research, looking for answers in patient care. Patient care has been running 99% approval. It's the highest you can get. And we've been looked upon by the Vice President as one of the 5 outstanding cancer centers in the world. So what I'm saying is, if it takes the legislature, if it takes the governor, if it takes an act of whatever it takes to keep us going straight down the line that we're on, that's what we're going to do. It's very simple to me. We're not going to put hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars into some place and have some individual say, well, I want it to go one way or I want it to go another. That isn't how it works. It's far too complex and complicated. And we're overseen by national bodies, national institutions at the National Institutes of Health that require us to do certain things that the University of Utah isn't required to do in any other part of their medical school. And so I feel that we're on very sound ground right now, and we're going to proceed forward. We've just committed another $120 million to move forward over the next few years. And it's very expensive to do research, but we're anxious to move ahead, and we're going to plow ahead. And one of the great discoveries of cancer in America and the world will be right here in Salt Lake City. And we're excited about it. We're enthused about it. Our spirits are high. Our people are excited, and we're going to get the job done.
You told Forbes magazine that you need to manage your charitable dollars as closely as you manage your business dollars. Do you feel satisfied that your charitable donations to the Cancer Foundation and elsewhere have fulfilled the vision that you had for them? Are you satisfied with how things have turned out?
Not completely. The Huntsman organizations all over the world, we're in 75 different countries. We're a public company. Because we have to have audits done every year by one of the major 5 auditing firms in the world. They, in turn, are audited by the IRS. So every penny that comes into the Huntsman Cancer Institute is accounted for in great detail. So that's why I was able to put in the Salt Lake Tribune and Deseret News our complete sources and uses of funds for the last 25 years, because we know exactly where we are on our expenditures and on our income. And the university is in total disarray when it comes to financial or fiscal management. It's very difficult for them. Even now, after 2 months of asking for audits, they still have not been able to produce an audit yet that the legislature will accept. And we did ours in 4 days. We just simply pulled together the way we ordinarily run an operation, which is very tight, which is very responsible, which is very transparent. And so, no good deed goes unpunished. And I've learned in giving money, large amounts of money, that sometimes people take you for granted. And I think at the University of Utah, we've been taken for granted by a lot of the folks up there, the trustees. Some of the people just think automatically Huntsman's going to write out another check for $100 million or $200 million or $500 million, or they'll go out and raise it somewhere. So there's what they call donor fatigue. And I was asked by one of the large national magazines recently, aren't you suffering donor fatigue out at Utah? At Stanford and Harvard and at Penn, some of these great centers. You don't do that because they're private schools. The legislature doesn't give money. They have to either have money from donors like you, or they go out of business. It's pretty simple. And I said, no, we're not suffering from donor fatigue. We're just getting going. This is a great place. We have the world's largest database, 17 million names. We've got the world's greatest team. We've brought in folks, researchers and oncologists from all over the world. And we're really excited about it, and we're moving fast. But it's difficult at a public university to build what we're building, and at the same time have a public university operate within the confines that they have to operate within.
Last question about the HCI, and then we'll move on to other things. You look like a very big fan of Dr. Mary Beckerly. When she was summarily fired, you came to her rescue very, very quickly and very pointedly. What is it about her and her performance that you like so much?
Well, Dr. Beckerly is a terrific professional. She's regarded by her peers, that is, the great cancer centers around the country, the other 10 or 15 major national comprehensive cancer care centers, as an All-American, just a standout person. She's received excellent on all of her reports, both from the university and from our National Advisory Board, excellence in everything. And the fact that somebody would send her an email and fire her without checking with the people putting up the money, without checking with the National Advisory Board, which upset them immensely, the people from Harvard and Stanford that oversee us, without going through the normal course of events, it infuriates a person so much that professionals like this that are so hard to find, so difficult to keep, who are so beloved and who operate with such a great spirit. I mean, our patient always comes first, and Dr. Beckerly's always insisted on that. She's a very fair, a very professional, a very thoughtful executive. And in my way of thinking, this was handled so poorly and so unethically that Dr. Beckerly deserved every bit of support and attention she received. And I was the first one to come out and offer her that. But it's difficult to find these type of people. It's just like, I mean, you know, our country's going through a lot of problems because we don't have any leaders in the world today. You look at America, you look at the state of Utah, it's difficult to find great leaders who motivate people, who are creative, who are both, can develop ideas and implement those ideas. Dr. Beckerly is one of those individuals who, to me, is fine, a leader in the world of cancer that we have anywhere, any place in the world. And so she deserves nothing but the best.
Let's turn to your son for just a minute.
Sure.
I trust you still talk to him.
Occasionally.
Your son, Jon Jr., has been nominated to become the U.S. ambassador to Russia, but he has yet to be confirmed. Why is that?
I think it's a pretty simple answer, Bob. The way this works, particularly with large countries like Russia and China, is that the Russian government, that is Putin's government, will submit a name to the United States, to President Trump, for their ambassadorship, for their new ambassador, which they're doing as we speak. In turn, President Trump will submit to President Putin the name of somebody that they recommend, knowing that these countries are going to have to work very much in harmony, knowing that there's going to be a considerable amount of attention and focus on certain countries than there are other countries. And all Jon Jr. is waiting for at this point is for the Russian ambassador to be named by Putin to the United States. And then that sets in motion the Senate confirmation hearings. He's been through 3 of them before, so this should not be a problem for him to receive Senate confirmation. He's finished his ambassador schooling. He's gone through everything he needs to go through. And they're simply waiting for the Russian side now to submit the name of their ambassador so they can exchange ambassadors and move on with the show.
Historically, your son Jon has demonstrated great integrity. And if he is confirmed, and assuming that he is confirmed, can he serve as U.S. ambassador to Russia without becoming sullied by all of the scandals and investigations going on right now in regard to the Trump administration's relationship with the Russian government?
Bob, that's a question that Jon Jr. could probably answer certainly a lot better than his father could. It's my hope and prayer that he will, and he can, and he should. But I don't think any of us are wise enough or prudent enough at this point to be able to look around corners to understand the complex relationships between Russia and the United States, the North Korean involvement, the Syrian involvement, the Iranian involvement, all of the other aspects that go into this particular ambassadorship. Much different from China, which was mostly trade and business and situations involving financial transactions. This is a very, very different ambassadorship. And my guess is that the President and Jon Jr. will get along extremely well, and that there will be a very strong bond between the two of them and how they operate together.
There are those who are building a chapter and verse case for impeachment of Donald Trump, and then there are those who are defending him to the nth degree no matter what. You have served several U.S. presidents. How would you assess President Trump's presidency up to this point?
Well, between Jon Jr. and his father, we've now served 7 U.S. presidents in one capacity or another. I would place Donald Trump right now as a considerably above average. I would consider him somewhat like Richard Nixon. I served.
In what way?
Well, Nixon was not Nixon was a nationalist. He wasn't a globalist. And there's a huge difference between some politicians that want to reach out and have the global situation of the population of the world all act as one and be as one. Trump's very nationalistic in the fact that he puts America first, and he wants America to be first in everything, and jobs, of course, come first in that sense. But I think President Trump, in my opinion, has made a terrific choice for the Supreme Court. I think what he's doing in his relationships with Poland, this recent trip, with Russia, this recent trip, from what I know about it, he's a statesman, and I know that the Democrats probably don't like to hear this, but I think that he is putting America first, and I think there isn't one thing that he has indicated yet that he didn't indicate while he was running that he said he was going to do. He's fulfilled his commitments. He's fulfilled his obligations. He's done. There are no surprises, and I, for one, give him very high marks.
You have said that you want to give away all of your money before you die. Why do you want to do that, and what do your children and grandchildren think of that decision?
Well, the children and grandchildren didn't have much say in it, but they want their father to do exactly what we're doing. The children have sufficient for their needs. The grandchildren are going to have to work a little harder, a little faster, and a little swifter than others. But the children, amazingly, Bob, are really focused on humanitarian efforts. I never thought I would see a situation where our family would be so focused on curing cancer that even the children, now our 3rd generation, are working for the Huntsman Cancer Institute. They're raising money. They're focusing. They give a certain amount of their own paychecks to cancer. Peter Huntsman, who's CEO of the Cancer Foundation, and Jennifer, who's running all of our teachers and teachers awards, and Christina, who's running our homeless center programs, James, who runs certain other programs and David, Jon Jr. Each one of the children seem to take certain great pride in different philanthropic areas of concern that they're focused with. Just before we met today, I was meeting with one of our granddaughters who's working on a program for childhood diabetes. She had diabetes when she was 9. She probably spends 50% of her time speaking to groups and making animals and giving encouragement, giving support, and lending help financially and otherwise to children who have diabetes. And so from a family point of view, we've never had a crossword in our family. It really is quite amazing. And they've loved one another, they've supported one another, but at the same time, they really are heavily involved in philanthropic needs. And our charitable foundations are set up into the future where hopefully, as we continue to build our charitable foundations, they will be able to throw off enough money, sufficient money, Bob, to where we can, for several generations, be able to make a difference in the underserved, in those who are without, in those who need help and attention and assistance in areas. And for whatever reasons, we just feel very blessed that we're in a position where we're able to do that.
So when you say you're giving away all of your money before you die, it's actually you're giving it to the charitable foundation so they can continue on the work that you've engaged.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct. At one time I thought I was giving it all away, but we've built additional businesses and created additional wealth, and that additional wealth has gone into charitable foundations. We have 3 major charitable foundations now, and they're for different purposes and different usages. And some are for higher education, some are for scholarships for underserved kids. Many of them are for abused women and children. A lot of it's for homelessness. Not all of it's for cancer, but the biggest chunk is for cancer. So there are just a number of causes that we believe deeply, and you know, Bob, this may sound old-fashioned to some people, but we have a very simple set of bylaws for our foundation, and that is to feed the hungry, take care of those who suffer because of illness. They're right out of the scriptures, the 5th chapter of Matthew, and that's as simple as it is. That's all our foundation bylaws include. And I'm very grateful that they're that simplified.
Cancer patients are among those who have advocated for medical marijuana for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that it helps with appetite and it helps with pain and suffering that in ways that opioids don't. Right. It's an issue right now here in Utah. Where do you fall on the medical marijuana discussion here in Utah?
Well, I'm a very strong advocate for medical marijuana. I think some folks have it terribly confused with the smoking of marijuana. I've been in severe pain for the last 10 years with these 10 operations I've had, and particularly in my joints and my body, pain that opioids wouldn't even come close to touching. And I know a lot of other people have too, Bob. People suffer enormous pain, and pain needs to be eradicated. We need to find reasons and causes that will eliminate pain. Medical marijuana is a very logical substance that will eliminate pain in certain areas, not in all areas, and it would certainly make lives like mine a lot more comfortable when I'm in such a terrible sense of loss with respect to opioids. Opioids are very dangerous. They're constipating. They're difficult on your kidneys, on your bladder, on your systems. And I just think that if we were at all sensitive to medical marijuana, we would utilize that properly and within the bounds for which it's set and within the propriety of good medicine, and would find that it would be an excellent resource to help eliminate pain.
Have you tried medical marijuana?
No, I've never tried it.
Do you want to?
Sure, I'd love to. I've had such severe pain at times, and the opioids that I've been on have not done the job, and they've created more problems than they have. I won't take opioids. I'll take the pain, and that's really severe because sometimes you just want to scream out at night because of joints not working and your part of your systems that just break down on you. And I look forward to any type of solution that will eliminate and eradicate pain. And with our cancer patients, Pain is a very, very, very difficult problem. And one of our number one jobs is to keep our patients so that they're pain-free. And if that means medical marijuana, so be it.
Aside from eradicating cancer, what do you see as the most pressing need in society right now?
Well, society right now is comprised mostly of negative behavior on behalf of either countries or communities or races or religions. And it's a great tragedy that we have to go through this. All men and women are created equal. All men and women are God's children. And I have a difficult time in my mind understanding why there is such a difference between people as genuine, to genuinely love one another. And I think the biggest problem we have on the earth today is that we just simply don't put our arms around people, that we don't extend ourselves to love them, that we don't follow God's admonition of loving our neighbor. And because of that, we've created this massive chaos of war and hatreds and distrust that's absolutely unnecessary. So it would be my hope, it would be my prayer, it would be my wish, in every other aspect of my being, Bob, that we could do two things on this earth. We could cure cancer, and we could have world peace. I believe with those two ingredients, we would find that all mankind is wonderful to one another, and we would be better neighbors and better friends, and we would be a lot happier in life.
You've done many things in your life, from building one of the largest, most powerful chemical companies in the world, serving several presidents of the United States, serving in significant leadership roles in the LDS Church, and of course, attacking cancer with a vengeance. You have been a friend to the most powerful in society and to the least among us. How would you like to be remembered?
First, I'd like to be remembered, Bob, as a honorable husband, and as a fun and exciting and thoughtful and loving father, far, far above anything else. And I guess next, if there is one next closest to those two, it would be someone who cared about their fellow man and woman with equal feelings of love and concern, irrespective of their origins or their backgrounds or their faiths. Someone who just loved everybody the same.
Jon Huntsman, industrialist, philanthropist, founder of the Huntsman Cancer Institute, and many, many other great works. Thank you so much for being part of Three Questions.
Thank you, Bob. What an honor to be with you again. Thank you.